Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Cass McGowan, and we're here at Begley Public School to discuss a very important topic, racism. When we think of the world today and all the issues that are going on, from immigration from Africa, from the Middle East, and Mr. Donald Trump's the new president-to-be talking about, racial issues that are not very positive. This is a really good time to discuss this issue. But I want to get personal for a minute because I'm so delighted to be at Begley because I used to teach here, and they told me I was one of the best soccer coaches that was ever at this place, really and truly. We won the soccer championship several times, and also Let's Talk began here, which is amazing. I used to do it with King Edward, and Sergeant Wren here remembers the days when I did it, and that's 25 years ago. So it's so nice to be back at Begley. I want to introduce you to our guests today. We have Rachel Olivero from the Greater Essex District School Board. She thought I couldn't remember that, but I do. Greater Essex County District School Board. She's corrected me already. And not only do I remember Rachel, but she used to be at the same Faculty of Ed on EC Row many years ago when I did my master's and Rachel was just starting her career, so that's a long time ago. Sergeant Wren is the diversity officer with Windsor Police, and he has a lot of experience as a young man growing up in Windsor and also in his role as diversity officer. And Robert Savage, I worked with him for many years in different school settings. He's a child and youth care worker at Begley. And I want to thank you, Rob, for all the work you've done to put this show together. And lastly, we have our principal, Mark Rinaldi. He told me I was the best education consultant that he ever worked with. And I think he's got some Irish charm somewhere, but I took it all. I accepted it, and that was fine. Rachel, as a person that's been very much involved in racism in the board, give us your understanding of how important this topic is to young people today.
Certainly, we've been involved in anti-racism.
Yeah.
And in terms of the way some of the things have changed over the years, if you look at the complexion and the demographics of our students, we are becoming more and more diverse. As the Greater Essex County District School Board, we are the fourth most diverse board in Canada. And we proudly are home to over 100 different nationalities. And I think it's really important for us as a school system and as a community to make sure that we harness that diversity as a strength to be celebrated, not a problem to be solved.
Wonderful. And Sergeant Wren, you have been involved as a young person growing up as a person, and you also now worked at the Cogeco as a sports commentator and so on. Now you're the diversity officer for the police. What did that experience do for you in terms of your job today?
Well, it's really educated me and prepared me for dealing with people, all types of people, both those who are either on my side or against me, and knowing how to combat different points of view, how to reduce tensions. And growing up where I did with different nationalities in the heart of the city really gave me a street sense of education. I didn't need the books per se, but growing up with different nationalities helped me in this position, really gain me an advantage that I can see and deal with all types of situations. Incidentally, I do want to thank you for allowing me to be here and inviting me, and I'm looking forward to a great show here today.
And I'd like to introduce Robert Savage. Robert, we worked together for many years, and the reason I enjoyed working with Robert, he had a very great sense of student, and he was always looking out for the welfare and had a great relationship with him. So not only did he help me prepare the show today, but he's got a great understanding of what this issue represents for young people in our schools. So I'm delighted, Robert, you're here today.
Thanks,
And
Ken.
finally, our guest is Mark Rinaldi Ross. We worked again together. Like he did tell me I was one of the best education consultants he has ever with, and that I met him the principal he is today. So I feel good about that. But more importantly, he's going to tell us the role of the principal at Begley and what it means and how it's represented in terms of racism. So these are our guests. I'd also like to introduce the schools today. I would like you to stand up when I mention your school. Have we got Brock here? There you go. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Westview High School, wonderful. We have La Jeunesse. Okay, we have Walkerville. We have Begley. And we have Assumption. And have I got everybody? And we're missing Catholic Central. They lost. It's okay. They'll come during the show. We're fine. So, moving on, Robert, what in your mind is important about having this show today? What message can we send that will be meaningful?
That's a good question. The best possible outcome that can come out of today's discussion is education and understanding one another's point of view and understanding and celebrating each other's diversities, and that differences don't mean divisions. It strengthens us and brings us together and makes us better. And to have, you as a community leader open this discussion for us helps us in the long run. But to have the discussion centered around education, it's a pivotal role.
Yeah. And Mark, as principal of this school, I think talking to you, you have a great enjoyment factor with you working with these kids?
Absolutely. And we're very fortunate. When you look out into the audience today, you see a diversity of students. And here at Begley, we welcome students from over 50 countries to our school. We have over 25 languages are spoken in the homes of our children and our parents. So we are, as you have said before, a microcosm of the society. And we see Begley represented in our wider community. And it's really important that we have a discussion about our differences, our similarities as well, but our differences and respecting each other. And racism has its beginnings when we're ignorant and we fail to have the conversation and we fail to recognize that we are different.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Allegres, we'll start with you. I know you're from the Congo, right?
Yes.
And you had some concerns when you came to Canada first. You want to share those?
Yes.
Let me just tell us what school you're from.
My name is Allegres Kahindo. I'm from La Jeunesse. When I came here in Canada from Uganda, Canada was not welcoming as I expected. And because I could not speak English or French, communication with other students was hard for me. But my teachers, my grade 8 teacher, thought of a way could unite me with other students, and that was by organizing culture dance parties and culture dinners, so that each student could represent their country or culture of the class. I felt good about that, but there was always favoritism, which cannot be, which we don't really pay attention to most of the times. And so, in high school, as we grow older and mature, we all want to be respected, and so we choose to respect others in return. I wouldn't say that I've experienced racism in high school because I choose not to pay attention to that. I'm afraid that it will hurt me emotionally and mentally, and I believe that we can only overcome evil with good. If my response and reaction is very important. So if I react or respond negatively, that will also hurt me, and not only me, but people around me as well. So I have to be careful with how I react and respond. That's why I choose to pay much attention to discrimination or racism, and to be careful with my responses. And so as I continue to live in this country, my impression of this society has strongly improved. Even though people might not be careful with their actions and language, I believe that they treat people better than where I come from and compared to other countries. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, Winona, you had a point of view by being Chinese, right?
Yes. So I was born in Canada, and my parents were immigrants. But I grew up with the Western culture, but also with the Chinese culture at home. And so in grade school, I was the only Chinese student. And what happened was other kids would tease me about the different stereotypes that people had about Asian, even though I didn't have any of those stereotypes. For example, they'd make fun of Asians for having small eyes or having an accent. But I was raised in Canada, so whenever they go like, oh, you're only good at this because you're Asian. I'll be like, well, I'm also Canadian as well. Born here. So whenever I got made fun of for playing badminton, it was like, oh, you're only good at this because badminton's an Asian sport, and all Asians are just naturally good at badminton. I worked hard to be able to be on the badminton team, and so my responses at first were really negative, and I kind of just responded angrily, and now that I look back, I shouldn't have done that. And when I grew older, as I got older, I decided to respond in a more calming way and making sure that my words were able to explain to them that what they said was wrong and they shouldn't make stereotypes and base off their judgments off of stereotypes. And so when I grew older, I decided to not pay attention to these things and just to help others understand, because Chinese are a minority at my school. And so it's just another way to help them educate themselves through my culture, and that's how I stopped racism.
So, Ran, if we were as mature as she is at her age, life would have been a lot easier.
Both, exactly. Winona and Allegra's comments are our audience, I'm sure, can relate to those, even if they're 50, 60, 70, and 80 years old, because these are stereotypical situations that have been happening and will continue to happen. But what I'm impressed with is their strategies and how they're able to understand that fixing the problem is not to combat or fight, but instead to educate and do it in a calm and a peaceful manner to make their point of view heard.
And I know we had some back when you presented. You're from Sudan or Somalia? I forget. I met you first, and you were quite intense, and I admire you for that, because you had a lot of passion in what you were saying. You want to share that with us?
Yeah. So, as a young black Muslim female, I've experienced a lot of sexism, racism, and Islamophobia. And there would be a lot of times where I'd be at a store or a restaurant and people would just blatantly stare me down or whisper really, really bad names. And at first I was horrified. I'm still horrified. But over time I've come to realize that the best way to deal with it is to confront them professionally and to make them realize that what they're saying it to a human being just like them, and that human deserves the same amount of respect as they do. And now more than ever that Donald Trump is getting elected, we need to stand up, even if some people are very intimidated. Like, it's very hard to be a minority and people stereotype you, but when people stereotype you and you prove to them that you don't fit their stereotypes, they tell you, oh, so you're the exceptional one among your people, and you need to make them realize we're all the same, and racism does affect everybody, and it does hurt my feelings.
Wonderful. And Taylor, you're from?
I'm from Westview Freedom Academy. I'm in grade 12, and my school has combined with Forster and Century and has become Westview. We've experienced a culture clash, and some people didn't really know how to react to it. We have recently had a lot of Syrian refugees come into our school, and a lot of them happen to be Muslim, and people are somehow Islamic phobia or something like that, and they make these judgments upon them and give them dirty looks down the hallways. Actually, there has been one incident that I've heard. I haven't seen it personally, but someone told me that there was this person that was got into a fight with this girl who wore a hijab and actually tried to rip her hijab off. I think that is really disrespectful, and you should have respect for someone's religion, and the fact why they're wearing that is it's a lot of self-confidence to wear that, and they wear it with pride. And people should understand that. Therefore, we should educate people on diversity, not only Muslims, but all kinds of different cultures. And, we shouldn't judge people based on their skin color and their culture, their religion. We should all look at each and every person as being a part of humanity and treat them with lots of respect.
So I come from Ireland. That you did. You probably picked that up with my accent, eh? And we have just experienced a movement called Brexit, where the United Kingdom has broken apart. They've decided to separate from the rest of Europe. And getting to your point, when you talk to the people in Northern England, there was a kind of an English discussion between the North and the South. Their concern was what you were talking about. They were afraid of the immigrant and the culture that they represented coming in and taking away their culture. So instead of, in my eyes, instead of trying to think of it in a positive way, they have viewed it as a negative. They want their country and do it their way. And Rachel, as a person, as a lead person in the board for trying to understand that, how does that work?
Well, one of the things I think that's changed in education is that social justice, racism, discrimination, all of those things are part of the curriculum now. And if you talk to, I think, the panel, when we were in grade 7 and grade 8 in high school, I don't think we could speak as articulately and intelligently as these kids are here. And I think right from the early years in our schools, I know we have kids from all the different boards here, no matter what school you go to, right in JK, SK, right in our early years, we teach kids about respect, equality, equity, and dignity. And I think that many of the things that we're hearing today tells us that it's working.
Yeah. Now, Fatima, you come from Begley, right? And you've got your principal here, and you've got Mr. Savage here, but just pretend they're not here and have a conversation with me. And sure, you're thinking, I'm teasing because I think those guys make you nervous? Not really, right? Nice guys. Go ahead, Fatima.
Personally, me, I've had a lot of experience with racism, and I really think racism is wrong, because to discriminate against someone because of their cultural background, their skin color, their appearance in general, is just wrong. Because we're all human at the end of the day. We can all breathe. We all have brains. We're all human. No matter your social status, we're all the exact same thing. If you take a picture and you remove of people and you remove the race, you see people. It's about the character of the person. It's not about their appearance. And one time, me and my sisters, we all wear the hijab. We were in my family's car, and we were parked in a grocery store because my mom went to do some grocery shopping. Me and them were just sitting, having the windows down and everything. We were just sitting down, talking with each other. And a guy, he's a customer from the store. He's leaving the store, and he just comes up to us and tells us, first you steal our country, then you steal our parking lots. And it just made me feel embarrassed to wear the hijab. But he told us to leave, and he seemed like a scary guy, almost like he would fight. I don't know, it's weird. But he told us to leave, so we turned on the car, and when he left, we stayed in the same spot. And when we stayed in the same spot, I was surprised that my sisters actually stayed in the same spot, because I thought we would actually leave. And when we stayed, I felt proud to wear the hijab, and I was proud to be a Muslim girl. And yeah, that's how I feel about this.
Muntador, you and I had several conversations this week, right?
Yeah.
And when I met you first, you hadn't really thought it through. And I threatened that, you know what, if you were on my soccer team, play for me unless you practiced. So I said, why didn't you go back and practice again? And you did. And I still said, I'm not sure if I'm going to play you yet. Maybe a little bit more. And we give you. And when we had rehearsals today, I was so impressed with what you had to say. So why don't you share?
Yeah, thanks.
You're from Begley?
Yes, I'm from Begley. I'm a grade 7 student here at the school. I was born in Canada, but my parents' background, they're originally from the Middle East and Iraq. So racism to me is a global problem that is destroying people one after the other. Okay, it's either making people flee their homes, or it's brutally and sadly killing streets. And an example of this is the Syrian refugee crisis. Okay, but the way to solve racism is through education, because the more educated the person is, for example, someone would come up to me and say, I'm a terrorist, I would feel less greater than him. But I would tell him to go do some more research, think about it, talk to other people about what they think in their opinion, and then come to me and tell me I'm a terrorist, okay? And some of this can fall on the media, because they have to be responsible for what they post out there, because there are a lot of people watching, and it could affect a lot and people around the world. They could be offended, they could be discriminated by. So the way to stop it is through education, as I said from before. Okay, and Barack Obama's speech last week, his farewell address, he mentioned that you have to climb into their skin, you have to feel what they're feeling, and he also mentioned other immigrant groups, like you're from Ireland, right? And he mentioned the Irish as an immigrant group. He also mentioned the Italians, he also mentioned the Poles, and so it doesn't only rely on one specific group, it relies on everybody, and it's our job as the world to solve it. Even if you're a small kindergarten kid to a elderly person, we're all one in this world, and we have to solve it as one.
I don't know about you, my friend, but that's a great message.
I don't know where you get these students from, but these are our future leaders that we're looking and we're listening to. Muntador makes a great point. We can't rely. Can we rely on governments or institutions to fix the problem of racism, anti-racism? No, you should turn inwards or outwards towards each other. And maybe it's going to be some thinking outside of the box that helps us all to get along. You make a fine point, young man. Are you interested in becoming a police officer?
Are you going to hire you tomorrow? Sir, as a principal, vice principal, Mohammed, I understand that you were working with Mr. Savage when you were a kid, and you survived. That's an amazing feat. But now you're vice principal. But the thing is, you're a vice principal and a role model because you yourself are Lebanese. Can you tell us how impactful that is to be in a school like this and live? You came to Canada and so on and so forth?
Well, when we think of Windsor, Windsor is one of Canada's